is going on YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Today, on the table in front of us is a new knife to my collection. It's been out for a little while. This is the Bestech Malware, designed by the guys over at Todd Knife Tool. And I love this knife. Now, this is not my first TKT knife. On the channel, you have before seen the Roxy 4 and the Roxy 3. And I'll tell you, when these are together, you can really see the Todd Knife Tool design aesthetic coming through. I think these are gorgeous knives. I love the way they feel in hand and I love the way they work. Now this one, the Roxy, was a little small for me, and so I happily gave it over to Women Carry Knives because it is an ideal EDC knife for someone with smaller hands and particularly smaller pockets. This is a fantastic knife. I love the Roxy 4. This is just a fantastic knife. But, you know, it is a full-size titanium knife, and that means that it can be a little heavy, particularly if you're wearing light pants. So what do? Well, what you do is get yourself a Bestech Malware. Now this is a very light, very stabby knife from the guys over at Todd Knife Tool. It is, well, it's just fantastic. It is carbon fiber on the show side. It is titanium on the lock side. You can see the Todd Knife Tool design sort of pocket clip that goes on there. It is flickable, absolutely flickable. It is very light, and as I said, it is very stabby. So again, if gas station fights are your jam, this thing is really going to serve you well. It's not mine, but it could be yours. In my case, this is just an excellent, excellent all-around knife for everyday carry. Now, what do you get? Well, let's lay this out here. You get 1, 2, 3, and 3/4, just about, of cutting edge of S35 VN. You get a 4-inch blade. It has got this really nice long drop. There's just a little bit of belly actually here at the tip of the blade. It is very, very thin behind the edge. There's a nice choil here for choking up. This works excellently for draw cuts. It is really good for push cuts. You can really get a grip on this thing. Now, ordinarily, a knife with a handle this narrow would be a little bit of a problem for me. I had the Artisan RKO, and as much as I think Dylan Mallory does a great design job, the handle on the Malware was just a little too thin for me back here. This one, on the other hand, has a swell right where I need it so that I can get a hold of this thing and it just locks into my hand. This is an excellent, excellent knife. Bestech, of course, does a really good job with their knives, and working with the guys at Todd Knife Tool, they're really showing that off here. They really are. Now, it's running on bearings, so it is absolutely smooth. It will drop shut with a little bit of wiggle, as you can see, but because the blade is very light, and it is, you won't, excuse me, that's how funny, I lost my train of thought. The point I'm trying to make is that it won't drop shut because the blade is fairly light, but you can wiggle it shut that way, but it just closes when you want it to. The flipper tab is not super obtrusive because this little cutout back here, and this also gives you a nice landing ramp for your fingers, so it just pops open. It rides the pocket extremely well, and when it's in the pocket, there's about that much knife right there sticking up out of the pocket. It is really unobtrusive, and because it is so narrow, it really disappears. This is an excellent knife. I consider this a gentleman's carry just because it is beautiful and really unobtrusive, and I really like that in a knife. Don't get me wrong, this is also a great knife, and so's this. But if you're looking for something lightweight, easy to carry, unobtrusive, and yet really stabby, you are not going to go wrong with the Malware. I love this thing. I hope the guys over at Todd Knife Tool continue to produce knives both with WE and with Bestech for a long time, because I will continue to buy them because they keep doing a really good job. Now, I do want to point out, this has got one of the most pokey, pointy little tips on a knife I have seen in a long time. And that being the case, you're not going to want to pry with this. So we're back to it being a little bit of a gentleman's carry. This is not a hard use knife by any stretch of the imagination. Don't get me wrong, in my version of hard use, it does everything I want it to do, but don't wedge it into stuff and pry with that tip. You will be sad. Now the rest of the blade is thick enough. It's decent stock back here, as you can see. It's not super thin, But because it comes to this long, fine point, I'll tell you what, you wedge this into something and give it a good crank, you're going to have a bent blade. So don't do that. But beyond that, that is my only thing that I want to point out that you don't want to do with this knife. Everything else you could want to do with this knife is easily done. It will cut open packages. It will cut open anything you want it to, boxes, letters. This is great for food prep because there's this little tiny bit of belly down here at the end of the blade, which means it cuts along cutting board exceptionally well. They really, really put a lot of thought into this. I love it. I really do, and I think you will too. So if you're looking for a knife that is lightweight, very sharp, and sharply designed and well made, the Bestech Malware is a great direction to go. So thank you guys over there at Todd Knife Tool. You have done it again. I think this is a beautiful knife, and I'm so glad it's in the collection. Anyway, that's about it for this. Just a brief overview. I'll put it through some paces, and we'll come back to it down the road with some long-term thoughts. But for now, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'd love to have you here on a regular basis. We'll see you next time.